Good morning. Good afternoon here. And good morning to some of you that are joining us in other parts of the world, and to some of you also, good evening. My name is Catherine Devitt, and I am the program manager with the Faith Plans for People and Planet program. I welcome you here, and I'm delighted that you can join us from many regions of the world. Faith Plans was officially launched late last year, and our program provides an opportunity for the faiths, the largest stakeholder group in the world, to put their beliefs and values front and center to address the challenges of biodiversity collapse, the climate crisis, and unsustainable development. As a moderator for our workshop, I'm delighted to welcome you all here from all over the world to this space and to this moment. Our gathering here follows on from our webinar in December of last year, where we explored the role of faiths in climate action within the context of post-COP. And a recording of that webinar can be found on the Faith Invest YouTube channel. This is our first workshop of many workshops to come over the coming months. And we have called this workshop, How to Develop a Faith Plan, Early Lessons for Long-Term Success. Firstly, I'd like to invite you to introduce yourself in the chat box, to share your names, to share where you're coming from, whether you're with any organizations. And we're also quite keen to learn why you're gathering with us for this workshop. And specifically, what would you like to get out of this workshop? And of course, throughout the next hour, if you have any questions or reflections that you'd like to share during the workshop, please do. So we want this workshop to provide a space for dialogue, for sharing, active engagement, and for listening and for learning. And to help achieve this, we will spend time during the workshop in interactive breakout sessions, together exploring some key questions and discussion points to help us center our hearts and minds on what it means to create a faith plan and how to take the steps to create a faith plan. But before we do that, we'd like to first focus on providing some context to our program. We'll start by hearing from Dr. Lorna Gold, who is our Director for Movement Building at Faith Invest. And Lorna's bio will be in the chat box. Lorna has extensive experience working with faith-based organizations at the intersection of faith and climate. And Lorna will provide a context for the program, what makes our program unique, and she'll also hone in on how we can move forward together, and she'll focus on the crucial practical steps necessary to take when creating a faith plan. Following Lorna, we'll then hear from Sara Kaweesa. Sara is the National Director of Rocha, Uganda, a faith-based non-governmental conservation organization that is affiliated to Rocha International. And Rocha, for those that don't know, engage in biodiversity conservation, in research and advocacy, and community projects. And Sara will share her experiences, tips, and recommendations for creating a faith plan. And then we'll jump into the breakout sessions. But before we go into that, I'll hand over now to Dr. Lorna Gold to give more of a context on the Faith Plans program. Over to you, Lorna.
Hi everyone, it's wonderful to see you all today and to see such a wide variety of participation. And one of the things when we're doing these webinars for the Faith Plans is that we have people who have been with us since the very beginning. So who started their producing their faith plan last year, at the start of last year. And then we have people who have just joined the journey today, their first day, their first time. So you are all so welcome. Welcome those who've been around for a good while. Some people, this is their second round of producing a faith plan. And for those who are here to learn, hopefully we're all here to learn, and hopefully we can have a really rich exchange. That's our objective today, between those who are already on the journey of producing a plan and those who are at the start of the journey. So I'm going to give you a little bit of context briefly and talk about what is this Faith Plans programme and where did it come from and what is unique about it. So what I've called the presentation, or like the kind of topic, is a holistic approach to sustainable future. Because I think, as you'll see as I talk about faith plans, we're talking here really at its heart about a holistic approach to how we think and how we put our assets, whatever they are, our energy, at the service of creating a sustainable future. So if you move to the next slide. The faith plans, just to give you a bit of context, we didn't just pull it out the air last year when we launched it. It has come about through quite a long process which originated in the Alliance of Religions and Conservation, which was co-founded by Martin Palmer with His Royal Highness Prince Philip. And that group of the Alliance of Religions and Conservation came up with the proposal of producing long-term plans for the faiths on how they were going to address sustainability issues. And it resulted in a series of commitments in 2009 and again in 2014, where each of the faiths set out their plan over the long term, so taking 7 to 10 years, of how they were going to address issues of sustainability, climate, biodiversity. And it was also published in a wonderful publication, which I have and is my reference document, which says, Many Heavens, One Earth, Faith Commitments to Protect the Living Planet. So we're not starting from zero here. We're starting from a process that has been going on within the faith communities for at least the last 15, 20 years, sometimes longer. And the commitments of 2009, which are on the Faith Plans website as a reference document, provide a really good backdrop and insight into the commitments that have already been made. If we move to the next slide, we can see that this process of faith's planning, sitting down and planning how their faith contributes to this enormous task of addressing the ecological and sustainability crisis, was giving a huge step forward, a huge boost last October. In the run-up to COP26, a wide range of faith leaders representing most of the main religious traditions gathered at the Vatican and issued an appeal to COP26. And they committed themselves, each of the faiths at the highest level, to putting in place bold plans and aligning their investments. So we saw leadership at the top. And why is this significant? I feel it's significant because faith leaders at this level have met many occasions ahead of global summits. And generally, they tell the political leaders what they need to do to change. We need more climate action. We need governments to step up, and that's very important. This statement was different because in the second half of the statement, and you don't need to read all of this, but just read what's in the highlighted parts. In the second half, they commit themselves to far-reaching environmental action within our own institutions and communities, working to make bold plans and striving to align our financial investments, amongst other things. It's worth reading the whole document because it really sets out a new level of ambition within the faiths in order to play our part as stakeholders in a sustainable future. Alongside that new commitment from faiths, we're also seeing a real new energy within the faith communities to take environmental action, whether that's from Pope Francis and Laudato Si and the Laudato Si Action Platform, the Church of England and its commitment to being net zero by 2030, whether it's other faiths who are eco-seek and all the other faiths who are engaging in concrete environmental action and also coming out on the streets. In Glasgow, I participated in the faith and belief section of the enormous march. And it was just a wonderful expression of people's faith and their commitment as people of faith to stand up and to be out there committed to climate justice and positive change for sustainability. However, the question is, and this is where faith plans comes in, what is the right way, or what is the best way for faiths to start to think about how we can apply our thinking to transforming and to contributing towards climate justice and a sustainable future? And if you look at what the standard sustainability planning models offer us, I think you start already to face a big challenge. Standard sustainability planning models are very narrowly focused. It takes you for all the way really focused on very kind of, let's say, hard edge changes that need to happen within your faith, within your organisation. But if these are proposed in a faith context without embedding them in the faith community, the life of the faith, the experience of many faith communities is that they don't land. They don't land for a number of reasons. The first reason they don't land is that they're focused on reducing our emissions, reducing our footprint, doing less, whereas faith communities are about really, they're expansive in nature. They are about doing more, trying to do more. So there's this contradiction of how can we do more and do less at the same time. The standard sustainability model focuses almost exclusively on our tangible assets. So it goes straight to the buildings, changing your energy supplier, your energy efficiency, your waste management, and so on. Important things, as we'll come on to see, but not necessarily the only things that faith communities can bring to this. A standard approach misses the many intangible assets of faith. For example, access, influence, the moral voice of faith communities, the deep centuries wisdom of faith. So the problem is really often that the issue of sustainability is framed for faiths based on importing external thinking. So we need to be more sustainable now because obviously science is telling us, the UN is telling us, governments are telling us we need to do it. But when it lands within a faith community, it's often seen as an add-on. It's not really the core business of what the faith is about. It's seen as something that's kind of projected that we see we need to do, but the relevance to the faith is not often made. If you go forward. So what's faith plans about? Faith plans, even in the previous iteration and in this iteration of faith plans, is about having an integral process of thinking about this issue and how it relates to faith. It's about having a 360-degree approach to it. And what do I mean by that? It's an integral process that starts by recentering on what our faith teaches us about care for the earth and care for other people. So recentering on that care at the centre. And then from that, looking at a holistic approach to saying, what does this mean for the full spectrum of our faith community activities? And from there, moving on to talk about solutions. How do we draw on the opportunities that are available in a concrete way to turn that deep wisdom and those branches of activities into solutions? The framework that has been developed, and it has been developed by faith communities for faith communities, is very adaptable as well. And you'll see when I present it, it's not that you have to do absolutely everything. The important thing that the approach is holistic and the faith is at the centre. To produce a faith plan around sustainability, a faith plan for people and planet, the first step is to put the faith wisdom at the centre. And sometimes this can seem obvious, but for others it might seem a little bit, there's a bit of repositioning to do. But if you put the faith wisdom at the centre, the questions you need to be first of all asking is, what do our core beliefs and values tell us about how we need to care for the earth and for other people? Where can we find the deep sources of inspiration on this? Where are the examples, the testimonies that we can readily turn to inspire others to take action? And what aspects of our theology, our story as a faith community, do we need to perhaps revisit in light of the ecological crisis? From that centering process, which I guess can take as long as it needs in a faith community, you then move outwards to look at how that then reflects on different parts of different aspects or expressions of how the community expresses its life. So in terms of how the faith plans, the ones that have already been produced and how we've worked out this methodology, there are the faith wisdom at the centre, and then 6 areas of life around that can be looked at in terms of sustainability. But again, the key questions are, have we applied our core beliefs and values to how we live this aspect of the faith life? Which of these areas are applicable to my faith organisation? And then when it comes to more practical level, who from our faith organisation needs to be involved in preparing a plan? Can we have several sub-processes that feed into an overall plan? And which of these areas could be a major focus for our faith planning? One of the things that's interesting about this process is that it expands our horizon in terms of thinking about how our community can contribute towards positive change. Because as I said at the start, often if you jump into doing a sustainability audit, you miss some of the most precious gifts that the faith community has to bring to this question. It's not to say that sustainability audit is not important, but you can embed that within a broader understanding of the contribution of the community to addressing the issues of sustainability. So the first step, once you've kind of looked at the kind of how you set up a team, who needs to be involved in these various different areas, setting out all of that, the next step is really to look at doing an audit. Now, the word audit can send shivers up people's spines. We're not talking here about a financial audit in the traditional sense. We're talking about an audit of the faith community life and how that is addressing issues of sustainability and care for creation. And these are examples of how these different areas fit into such an audit. So you could be starting with wisdom around theology or philosophy, liturgies and rituals, sacred places, stories, quotes and practices, spirituality, prayer and meditation, and theological training. And then coming on to assets, you would look at the areas that you would say are more traditionally linked with a sustainability audit, as well as reviewing your financial investments, and so on through all of the different 7 areas that are outlined here. Faith Plans has produced a planning guide which is available on the website, to help direct and help groups like yourselves to get started and to provide a bit of direction on the faith process getting off the ground. And this is the process that we are working through at the moment. So the commitment to faith plans is, or the what is being asked in terms of producing a faith plan, is that each faith community will commit, as the leaders have done in Rome last year, to producing a 7 to 10 year plan to care for creation, based and centred on their tradition, on each tradition. That the faith plans platform then, that is already up and running and has got wonderful stories and exchanges, can support you through this journey and learning as we journey together to producing these new plans. And then Faith Invest invites all of us to log our plans, so a commitment made public by May 20 this year, if that is possible. Because what we would like to do is together generate enough momentum behind these plans that we can bring them together to one of the major UN events, global events in the coming year. Whether that's Stockholm Plus 50, which is a major milestone in the calendar, marking 50 years of UN environmental action, and we're going to be present at that. And then another opportunity at COP in November this year in Egypt. That this grows as a sense of momentum amongst the faiths, outlining to the world really what the commitment of the faiths is in setting out our how we're aligning and developing concrete solutions to the ecological crisis. As we develop the plans, Faith Invest, but not only Faith Invest, is working also to help to find and to the kind of faith-based investment opportunities that will enable many of the proposals and the concrete kind of practical plans to become a reality. So I'm aware I need to speed up, but the next one, just with Faith Invest, we've developed a wide range of partner organisations, many of which are on the call today. Some of these partners are umbrella partners who are sharing the message of and the proposal around the faith plans with their entire networks. Others are affiliated programmes, such as the Laudato Si Action Platform, which is collaborating with the faith plans to have in public moments to present the output of the faith plans and the action platform in a public way, and collaborating in many different ways. Other partners are resource partners. So these are organisations that can help you in planning with different aspects. So for example, I'm thinking Interfaith Power and Light in the US has tremendous expertise on sustainability audits of your congregations. Operation Noah has fantastic resources around how church communities can go fossil free. Likewise, Green Faith has fantastic resources on advocacy and how you can engage in campaigning around many different issues. And that's just to mention a few of the different partners. And faith plans, so this is just a screenshot, probably not the best one actually, of the website, but it's there to be used. There is so much inspiring stories, information on it, which you can readily avail of, and you can sign up. You can sign up to say you're committed to producing a plan, in which case you'll get lots of engagement and support, or you can simply register your interest, in which case you'll receive keep in touch via our newsletter. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lorna, for such an inspiring and engaging, but also quite practical focused contribution. It's fantastic to see so many faiths and regions of the world represented here today. I think we have over 60 people joining us, which is fantastic, and it certainly shows the real commitment that Lorna mentioned in her contribution about how faiths are alive and are ready to take action on these pressing environmental challenges. Just to remind those that have recently just joined us, feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat box. We'd love to learn a little bit more about what you'd like to get from the workshop, where you're coming from, and maybe why you're joining us today as well. Just then to move on to Sara, I'd very much like to welcome Sara. She's tuning in from Uganda. Sara is with Rocha, Uganda, as I mentioned in the introduction, and Sara is going to talk about her everyday experiences of developing a faith plan. Welcome, Sara, and thank you.
Thank you, Pippa. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are. It's evening right now in Kampala. I'm so excited to be here. Well, Rocha, Uganda developed a first faith long-term plan last year during the COVID era. And our experience was quite interesting because it was not very usual to do work during COVID, during the lockdown, but we managed to get information, and this was mainly via the telephone calls. So if you ask me what our experience was, it was quite refreshing. And I would like to just share a few things that we did. For instance, there are 7 areas, there are 7 key areas in the faith long-term plan. But what we noticed when we started making our phone calls, getting information from our groups, was that we had to quickly change our mindset and look at what our reality is, what are the challenges, what is the need, what is the vision of our groups, and that is how we developed our plan. So for us, as the previous speaker said, there are 7 areas, but for us, we really focused on education, we focused on advocacy, we focused on land. Most of our groups, most of our faith people are farmers. You can imagine that during lockdown, offices were closed, there was limited transportation, meaning that there was limited movement. So most of our people were doing farming, they were working on their land. So assets are so important. Assets was something that really came out so strong. And the other reality was something that we did not ignore, that Uganda is a very young country. And of course, we faced the fact that there are many young people. And so education was also key. It came out in a faith plan. Those are some of the 2 major areas that we focused on. And to sustain momentum during the process, it was basically what we know, but maybe in a different way, maintaining contact, maintaining the relationships, talking to people, maintaining, opening up the communication lines, hearing what people have to say and comparing it to what the situation is, where we are going, and so on and so forth. So giving people information was very important, hearing what they were facing on the ground, what was going on at a global scale, tying all these 3 into one box was quite intriguing, and that still maintains the momentum. For example, yesterday I was at a meeting where we met 14 leaders of all the regions in Uganda, and it was quite exciting to share the same vision and getting some feedback from them. So it's a process that is continuous, and be ready for all sorts of information. All this information fits into your plan. One of the things that we enjoyed was hearing, for example, Uganda is a very small country, but also quite diverse. So when we talk about either its assets or education, whatever area you choose, we have to be so open in that what works in one region may not apply to the same. By the way, you have the same people, same beliefs, they're reading the same book. In this case, they're reading the Bible for our group, but it means different things to different people in the same country, the same context. While, for example, in the northern part of Uganda, they are thinking of education, the southerners are looking at assets, other people in the city are thinking of media, that is advocacy, and the elites allied faith groups are thinking of changing their lifestyles. So we have to be so accommodative. We have to be so broad enough to try and bring all these facets together. So it all comes up like one huge program. And our group, for example, the people that participated in our faith plan, they represent over 30,000 groups. So you can imagine how diverse it is. But what is intriguing is really just picking up something, a sort of sample, what is representative for each group. If I was to think about tips and recommendations, for example, it's really things that are the common reality, things that we face in our work. That is focusing on priorities, building good relationships, updating members, giving continuous information, continuous training of different stakeholders. When we talked about faith plans in the first place, nobody knew what we're talking about. But as we explained, then it started making sense. And then we discovered we have a lot of information that is not even documented. So we have a challenge of too much information out there, and we have to find a way of documenting it or even digitizing it, putting it in numbers. We find that people have done quite a lot, but maybe it was not structured the way we want. So let's, the key recommendations are those: focusing on priorities, building relationships, and maintaining the communication lines. And of course, our usual values of accountability, transparency, teamwork, minding the time frame, identification of needs, and the list goes on. Allow me to stop there, and I'm happy to answer any questions or to add on to, if we go to the break room, I'm happy to share much more than this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sara. That was so incredibly interesting and wonderful to hear about your direct experiences. And Sara is leading one of our breakout sessions, so she'll have an opportunity to answer questions. And this brings us on to our breakout sessions. So we have divided, we will divide you all into a number of sessions that will be facilitated and led by members of the Faith Plans team, along with Sara. And in those sessions, we really want to encourage learning and exchange. We want to encourage questions. We want to encourage reflections. And of course, if you find yourself in a breakout session and you've already made a faith plan, or if you're in the process of creating a faith plan, feel free to share your experiences. And as Sara has just done, feel free to share your own tips and recommendations. So now you will see on your screen that you're being invited, and all you have to do is click join breakout room, and we'll see you all back here shortly in 20 minutes or so. Thank you. So thank you all for those very rich conversations and sharing. I know in our group, we actually ran out of time. We did a quick gathering of some of the main kind of sharings within the 3 breakout sessions that we held. And I will quickly just kind of run through very quickly some of the key kind of emerging themes. So what we heard about from you was the importance of partnership, the importance of unity and working together, the importance of looking at faith first. And that just reflects what Lorna said about putting faith and theology very much at the center of your plan. And then, of course, looking at community and discovering what the needs are within the community, within the local and the locality. And then in our group, it was quite striking. There was an emphasis on the need for political will, leadership, being committed, and the motivation, and that can follow from that. Just again, looking here, the importance of an integral approach, and that very much reflects what Lorna emphasized. And then, of course, looking then again at taking it holistically, looking at where there is so much potential beyond the very obvious assets, such as buildings or such as medical facilities or schools, to look beyond to include those moments of celebration and wisdom, and so on. So very much the holistic focus. We will, there's a lot to go through. I don't have time this afternoon, but we will capture the key sharings, and we will communicate back to you most probably in next month's newsletter. Tilly, I might ask you to just bring up our slides again, and we'll cover the next steps. So again, thank you very much for joining us today. Some of you may already be registered on our website. Some of you may have already signed up to develop a faith plan on our website. If you haven't, we very much welcome you to join the movement. When you register, as Lorna has said already, you'll then receive information about further next steps. When you sign up to actively develop a faith plan, we'll then ensure that you get the supports and the resources that you need to help you along the way. By registering on our website, you'll also then receive our newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter, and in that you'll hear inspiring stories about faith plans that are already being created around the world. And you learn more about our events, and you learn more about our partners. Partnership and collaboration is very much at the core of the Faith Plans program. And then in terms of our website is very much an information hub. But it's also a place where we will showcase final faith plans. It's also where we showcase the level of activity that faiths are already doing on environmental action. So lots of inspiring stories to learn from. Also on our website, you'll find lots of resources that are relevant to all of the world's major faiths. And on the website, you'll also find lots of information on the 7 key areas of the program that Lorna took us through today. Again, a lot of information there to help you on your way. And we do have downloadable tools so that you can take away to the table rather than having to find yourself navigating a website all the time. The platform is very much a communication hub for participation in the program. And then, of course, we do have a planning guide that offers some guidelines and steps to get you thinking, to get you reflecting, to get you planning, to get you on your way. And then we will also offer planning guides that are relevant to the 7 key areas. And again, we're aware that a faith plan is led by your faith context. So our planning guides they offer us guidelines, they offer us prompts, and so on. And then on the website, you can find very specific prompts and suggestions for action under our 7 key areas. As mentioned, this is the first in first workshop in a number of workshops that we're hosting throughout the year. The next workshop is taking place on the 22nd of February. And it looks at the area of mobilizing your assets, and in particular, your financial assets. And we'll have guidance from the team at Investment Solutions at Faith Invest. Just to mention also, I mean, one of the key things within the Faith Plans program are the pathways that we provide to our coalition of partners from that slide that Lorna showed you. So again, if you are in need of guidance, expert guidance, technical guidance, we offer those channels and we offer those pathways to those partners. Our team is here to support you, to guide you, to inspire you. So please get in touch with myself or with my colleague Tilly here, who's on this call. Finally, just to say thank you very much for a very engaging and rich workshop. We hope that you found it useful. If you have any feedback or anything that you'd like to share in terms of reflections with us, please do so at any time, and we look forward to joining you at our next workshop. Thank you.